Welcome back to our final round of our Gym Challenge, League Challenge, here on Halloween weekend, excuse me. Dennis Geisler here with Michael Wagner, our semi-finalist, who went undefeated in Swiss. Still a great result today.
Yeah.
And we are into finals between David Hutner and Brian Perez. Both of those players we've seen on stream today, and both fighting for a League Challenge victory. Very exciting. David, as we saw earlier with the Rillaboom, Incineroar, Sneasler, Palafin, Klefki, and Golden Go. Brian running the Dragapult, Archaludon, Rillaboom, Volcarona, Sneasler, and Grimmsnarl. What do you think of this matchup?
Both really strong teams, I'd say. I think David's team is a bit more unconventional in the current meta, but still like really strong. I mean, we don't see Palafin too often. A lot of people call it a Palafraud, but I think it's still really good, and obviously
it showed up well against you.
Yeah, it worked really well against me.
I feel like more of a believer after seeing that set.
Definitely. And then Brian's team feels a bit more conventional for what we've been seeing in Ray Gauge. Yeah, the Dragapult there, the Archaludon, a lot of the Sneasler, a lot of more conventional picks. I'd say the one kind of surprise pick a little bit here is Grimmsnarl.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both sides have Prankster screens if they want to go for it with Light Clay.
Yeah.
And I don't think either team has a way to break another team's screens. So I'm wondering if either of them is going to go for it. We're going to at least see Brian leading those screens with Grimmsnarl and Volcarona. I almost said Volcanion. That's not the right Pokemon. David on the other end with Palafin and the Incineroar. I mean, off the gate, off the whatever here. Volcarona, this is an interesting Volcarona set as well, because it has both the Rage Powder and the Quiver Dance, so whether it wants to set up for itself or let another of its teammates set up, it has the option to do that. So it could go for something like a Rage Powder and then let the Grimmsnarl go for a screen or something like that, if it wants to. Probably the Reflect right now.
It could do that potentially, although... Oh yeah, we're going to see a switch here.
I was going to say, if it did that, it would probably get knocked out by Palafin, even the baby Palafin. We're going to see their Archaludon, though.
And that's a really good switch. If it gets faked out because it has stamina, it'll get the defense boost, and anything that Palafin does into Archaludon is going to be resisted, so it won't do too much damage.
Here we see it, the big baby Palafin. The Terra Water. Let's go for the fake out into the Grimmsnarl.
And any screen setup, that's smart. Then a big wave crash going into.
Is this going to be enough?
Grimmsnarl slot.
Going to be the Grimmsnarl. It's not enough to knock out.
But now it's in Jet Punch range.
It is probably in Jet Punch range, yeah, actually. This is a nice spot for David to be in, for the most part, I think.
I think so.
And keep in mind here on the Archaludon, I wanted to mention this team obviously does not have a Pelipper on it. This Archaludon is Power Herb with Protect, Flash Cannon, Electroshot, Body Press. We saw it earlier, but no Assault Vest, and a little bit different of a setup. Palafin's going to Protect, so is Archaludon.
Well, it's interesting, it's the Stamina set with Power Herb, because usually we see Assault Vest if they're a Stamina set.
Yeah, and then usually you get like the Stalwart with like the Terra Electric if it's going to be the Power Herb and stuff, but this is a much more conventional set with the exception of Power Herb and Protect instead of like a Dragon Move and Assault Vest. Like nothing happened that turn. I kind of spaced out for a second when we were talking about the Archaludon set, and like nothing happened. I think it was like 2 Protects, and I think the Reflect got up. That's what I'm going to guess happened.
Yeah, I kind of missed it too. I was looking down at the team sheets.
I think the Reflect got up, and then it was a parting shot into the Archaludon, which had protected, so nothing happened.
Okay. Yeah, I did see the Protect on that Archaludon.
Yeah. So I think that was a good turn for Brian, getting the Reflect up, getting that halved to damage. Palafin's just going to switch out now, though. Going to have the big boy Palafin coming in later. Don't want to let yourself get hit by the Electroshot, I don't think. There's the Klefki. We're going to see the fake tears into that Klefki slot. And we're going to see that follow up with the Electroshot. We saw Brian go for this a couple of times in the set earlier. We're going to see it now. The -2 special defense Klefki going to get hit by the now +1 special attack Archaludon Electroshot. Will it be enough?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's enough to KO. Absolutely crushes that Klefki.
Yeah, and that's a really cool combo too, to go for the fake tears, plus the Electroshot, so you're essentially kind of boosting it +3 in a sense in one
Yeah,
turn.
exactly.
But we're going to see the parting shot, so that'll take our Chaladon back down to neutral.
Mm-hmm. And crucially, now the Palafin comes back in, but it's the Palafin coming back in not having to be worried about the Archaladon going for that Electro Shot. It'll need a second turn for Electro Shot.
Yeah.
And this is an awkward spot for Brian to be in now, because your current typing is mostly good for the Archaladon. Close combat is danger. It is a danger element, but you resist everything that Palafin can do to you, and you don't have to be that. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be worried about Dire Claw. That's for sure. So keeping this current typing would probably be good. You also have to remember this Palafin has Haze, so if Archaladon builds up enough stamina stacks to get particularly dangerous, Palafin can shut that down. We can get the Archaladon Protect here. Just see what David wants to go for. It's going to be a Jet Punch into the Grimmsnarl, which will finish it off. And it was the Sneasler going for a Dire Claw. Obviously would not have connected either way onto the Archaladon, but...
Yeah, it looked like David was maybe covering for a possible switch there, so if Brian were to switch into the Rillaboom, for example, it could take the Jet Punch really well, but not the Dire Claw.
Mm-hmm. Or frankly, for the... for the, for that one slot. Or even if the Archaladon decided to Terrastalize this turn. Which would have been not a great decision, but I saw some weird Terras in the previous set, so... In any case, Rillaboom out here now. This is a very interesting loaded dice Rillaboom with Bullet Seed as its big damage grass move. It doesn't have Protect or anything, so it's still 4 attacks, but not the Assault Vest, but instead...
Does still have Fake Out.
Yeah, it does of course still have that Fake Out, which will break the Sneasler's Sash, which is nice. Jet Punch does not much damage at all to the Rillaboom. Sneasler flinches, and Archaladon, gonna go for the 2-turn Electro Shot. I don't hate this idea. It forces Palafin to do something here.
Yeah, but critically I feel like the Sneasler is still going to be a little bit of a problem. I don't know if it can get an Oko into Archaladon with close combat, but it's going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, and the big thing is that Palafin is going to be able to protect here if it assumes that is the targeting. Could be the craziest play of the century to be going for the Sneasler instead. I mean, I could definitely see the benefit in a play like that. Because...
Could be into the Sneasler if he wants to cover the Palafin with Grassy Glide, maybe?
Yeah, well, or even just Bullet Seed, because frankly, Palafin is not threatening either of these Pokemon right now. Palafin doesn't do any damage. So, if you just want to hit Palafin as hard as possible, certainly an option. We're going to see Palafin switch out, though. And the Incineroar will come in.
Good play there to mitigate some damage on the Rillaboom, put it down to -1.
Yeah, absolutely, but the Rillaboom's just going to switch out anyways.
Never mind.
And it's the Volcarona coming back in.
Good swap there. It could take the Dire Claw a lot better than Rillaboom could, and I think it's probably Flame Body, right?
It is Flame Body, yeah.
Yeah, so if you can pick up a burn on the Sneasler, that'd be great too, but we see Protect and an Electro Shot into the Incineroar.
Yeah, the Electro Shot did complete into the Incineroar, which is a nice call there. And it was also a really nice call out there, because you either say, okay, your Palafin takes a bazillion damage from Electro Shot, or I get my Volcarona in for free. Because if Palafin switches out, like, Palafin is the thing threatening Volcarona, and this means that Volcarona gets a much more comfortable spot to sit around in. And Brian still has Terra available if he wants to go for that. The Volcarona is Terra Fairy.
And here, the Incineroar's Fake Out is live as well, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was just like saying the Volcarona is Terra Fairy, which at the very least is not weak to water.
True. But then it opens up a weakness to that Dire Claw as well.
It does indeed. There are many pros and cons to everything that can happen here, but this could be a dangerous one. Ooh, it is the Quiver Dance. I was hoping it'd be the Quiver Dance.
Interesting. And we don't see any Fake Out from the Incineroar either.
Yeah, no Fake Out, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a terrible decision. Yeah, it's a Flare Blitz into the Volcarona.
Big damage.
Pretty big damage, and that is actually will Volcarona Terra Fairy take a Jet Punch here?
I'm not
genuinely
sure.
not sure.
Because Palafin, even though it does require that switch out to turn into hero mode, it's like borderline restricted.
160 base attack.
Yeah.
It does a lot of damage.
And notice too that I've been noticing David's been going for Jet Punch mainly with the Palafin. We haven't seen Wave Crash come out yet, and I think that's pretty smart because he doesn't want to necessarily take a bunch of recoil damage early on in this game.
Well, and not only that, but you want to stay ahead of, for example, this fast Volcarona.
Exactly.
Especially because if it Heat Waves, it can burn you, and that would be really bad for Palafin. But I think it's mostly a question here. Ooh, Volcarona switches out. That is interesting. That's really interesting.
That's a really clever switch there because you wouldn't want to normally switch out your Volcarona there, but that's a way that you can kind of catch your opponent off guard is when you set up a Pokemon and then potentially just immediately switch it out. It kind of shows that like you're very unpredictable. You're not sure what your opponent might do.
It could have advantages down the line in this set, and of course you take like no damage off of that. But the Body Press doesn't do that much to the Palafin either because it's not set up at all.
Yeah, unfortunately, without that Electroshot being a one-turn attack without Rain, the Archaludon doesn't really have much way to threaten the Palafin here.
That's the thing, the Archaludon's just not that threatening in general, it feels. Like, it feels like the Palafin and the Archaludon aren't really threatening each other. And frankly, again, the Palafin's not threatening anything on the field right now.
Yeah.
So, it's just an awkward spot to be in for each of these players. How much do you think Flash Cannon does to Sneasler at this point? It is a +1 Archaludon.
Yeah, I feel like into Sneasler it'd be a decent amount.
Because at some point you have to get the Sneasler out of the way if you're Brian. And on David's side, at some point you have to get anything out of the way. You can't let the switches keep happening. You can't let the fake outs keep coming through. I mean, that's the case for both of these sides, but Sneasler's going to protect. I wonder if it's going to get back up to its Sash.
Another protect from Palafin as well. And
it's a stall out the fake out turn, so reasonable enough. And the Archaludon protects as well.
Protects all around. If Rillaboom could protect, I'm sure it would too.
Yeah. Went for the Bullet Seed.
And that's a pretty aggressive play to make there in front of the Sneasler, I would say.
But the Sneasler did not get the... Oh, but it was still under Reflect, and now I wonder if David is going to feel a lot more emboldened to start hitting a lot more now that the Reflect is down.
And critically, the Grassy Train just ended as well, so now Grassy Glide is no longer an option until Rillaboom gets that set back up.
Although I still think Bullet Seed does a lot of damage to this Palafin if it's able to get off. Palafin is very bulky, but even still.
I just wonder how well Rillaboom without, like... Well, I guess it depends on how bulky this Rillaboom is, but I'm curious if it can... I mean, I imagine it can take one Dire Claw.
I mean, you gotta remember, Dire Claw is scary because of the secondary effect chances, but doesn't do all that much damage in the first place. Archaludon barely takes that hit.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that a little bit, because, I mean, I knew it would do a lot, but I didn't think it would do that much.
And the Wave Crash now into the Rillaboom.
First wave crash
it's the Wave Crash into the Archaludon, actually, just to finish it off, just to make sure that it goes down. A little bit of an odd decision there, although I guess the order of operations makes sense, because you want the higher damage move to do more damage, if that makes sense. The high horsepower is going to finish off the Sneasler in the other direction.
I'm not used to my high horsepower into Sneasler calcs, but I'm wondering... I mean, I guess after the close combat drop, that's...
Yeah, that certainly helps, and I mean, Sneasler's pretty frail in the first place. It would have liked to be at Focus Sash, but it was just a couple HP down.
Yeah.
But now, weird spot to be in for both of these players. I think I would rather be in David's position right now, but you still have to worry about how you're getting Rillaboom off the field.
Yeah, and Brian still has Terra, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we might see the Volcarona terrestrialize.
I mean, we're in the same spot as we were earlier, where it's a question of whether this Terra Volcarona can take a Jet Punch. The problem is, I feel like, and that's the thing for Brian, where it's like, okay, you switch out to get a better spot in a couple of turns, and it's like, I get that on one hand, but on the other hand, now you don't have a Quiver Dance up.
Yeah, that's true. So you really have to weigh the pros and cons of those kind of switches.
Because now, I mean, I know what that amount does to Volcarona, and it don't do a lot to Volcarona. Or, excuse me, the Volcarona doesn't do much to Incineroar. It didn't even... Whoa, and there's the Flame Body. Yeah, the Volcarona did not even Terrastalize, but the Flame Body activated, which could be pretty significant.
I would say that's pretty clutch, yeah. Depending on Rillaboom... Oh, wait.
Because Rillaboom got fake outed.
He got faked out, so... If Rillaboom can...
Rillaboom's gonna have to high horsepower the Incineroar right now.
And I wonder if it gets the knockout at -1? Or is it -2 at this point?
No, Rillaboom's just -1. It switched in and got down to just -1. We'll see how much Wave Crash does. Not a lot. It does a decent amount.
Burn, yeah.
Yeah, but
I guess Terra Water, Mystic Water, you'd expect it to do a little more.
There's the high horsepower. It'll come down to Bullet Seed. -1 Bullet Seed, and it could come down to the number of hits Loaded Dice gets. It gives you either 4 or 5. I don't think I've seen it get anything other than 4 so far. But... Wave Crash coming out. Crit could also potentially do it, although Crit still is mitigated by Burn. Not enough, though. Barely not enough. Comes down to Bullet Seed. There's one. It should be enough. And at that point, even the Burn will do it, but the Bullet Seed certainly will. And Brian with the Game 1 victory.
Very impressive.
Very narrowly. Yeah, this Bullet Seed Rillaboom, I was not feeling it when I saw it the first time, but I've seen it do so much weird clutch stuff. And it might just be the matchups I've seen it play against, with like a substitute Ursaluna or a Palafin, where I'm like, I don't know what it does against most matchups, but it's certainly getting work done.
Yeah. And in that set, I would say in that game, the Volcarona didn't really get to do too much, but what it ended up doing with the burn on that Palafin was
the burn
critical
certainly
to the win.
won the game.
Yeah. So it's if that's all it did, that's fine, because yeah, that saved Brian in the end.
Absolutely. I mean, you feel great when you get something like that against a Sneasler, where the Sneasler doesn't get any like crazy Dire Claw stuff against you, and then you get the Flame Body burn against the Sneasler's teammate. But what do you think you switch up if you're either of these players right now?
That's a good question. I feel like with the Archaludon last game, it didn't feel like it was doing too much. It kind of was dead weight on the field. So I wonder if Brian might bring something else in its stead, just to kind of get more value out of all 4 Mons.
I think that makes sense, but at the same time...
I mean, it did make quick work of that Clef Key. That combo with the Fake Tears Electroshock was really cool.
Well, that's thing number 1. It made pretty quick work of the Clef Key. Thing number 2, it still walls Palafin pretty well.
That's true. So maybe it is still worthwhile to bring.
And then weird thing number 3, take a look at the Clef Key set right now. It is Rain Dance.
That's true.
And if you want to mitigate the Palafin to an extra degree, where otherwise manually set up the Rain Dance, get even bigger Palafin damage...
It's like, oh, go for that. Now I get free electro shots all day.
Yeah, now I get free electro shots all day against your Palafin, and you're not doing anything to me. Even in Rain, Terra Water, Super Palafin mode, like, doesn't matter. I'm still taking that hit, and I'm still hitting you with an electro shot that knocks you out.
Yeah, so even with it being seemingly dead weight on the field at times, I think, yeah, just the mind games there of what you can and can't go for with the Archaludon is pretty good. But
we are going to see the switch up here. It's going to be the Sneasler on Brian's side now, and... alongside the Grimmsnarl, and David's going to go for the Golden Go and the Incineroar.
And we did just see the Intimidate go off, but the Sneasler has White Herb, which
it sure does, and so it activated its Unburden. Not that I think it matters that much in this matchup specifically, but
nice to get that activated immediately and to like erase that Intimidate as well.
Quick Terra here from the Incineroar, Terra Ghost.
Makes sense, covering for that close combat.
Mm-hmm. That's something we talked about a little bit with David's team in the last battle, is that David has a lot of Pokemon that don't desperately need to Terrastalize. The defensive Terras, there's the light screen. See, ooh, Golden Go does get the free Nasty Plot up, so that's pretty significant. But you look at David's team, and it's like 3 Terras that don't really change typings. Parting Shot will send Incineroar out. 3 Terras that don't really change typings, 2 Terra Ghosts that mostly exist to dodge Fake Out, and then Rillaboom. So if you need to just use your Terra turn 1 as like a I don't want you to hit me with Fake Out right now, you feel pretty fine with it.
Yeah.
because there's nothing really on the team that's going to be a Terra Hog that really needs it. And we'll see the Palafin come in out of the back, actually. Palafin will need to switch back out again, but that's not terrible when you've got an Incineroar on your team.
Yeah, in fact, right now you do want to switch it back in, because then you can actually get an Intimidate down on that Sneasler, because the White Herb's already been consumed.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you can threaten the Fake Out again on both of these Pokemon.
Exactly.
And even then, even with the light screen up, Golden Go's got to be pretty happy because it's got the Nasty Plot.
Yeah, and this particular Sneasler set on Brian's team doesn't have any Dark-type move to really threaten
Yeah, it actually cannot hit Golden Go.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Grimmsnarl is not a threat either. With its only offensive move being Spirit Break, it'll be
It can at least touch Golden Go, but not do much to it.
Yeah.
And frankly, went for the close combat, did not get anything at all there. Golden Go goes for the Shadow Ball into the Sneasler. Honestly, if I was David, I might have seriously considered going for another Nasty Plot there. The Spirit Break will now drop the special attack by one stage. I mean, if that's all the damage that this setup is going to do to you, that these two are going to do to you, you might as well just start clicking Nasty Plot a couple more times.
That's true, yeah. There's not really anything to make you, like...
What is realistically stopping you? Sneasler's gonna protect here.
Yeah.
And Incineroar will fake out the Grimmsnarl, so I think Grimmsnarl is gone because it's about to get hit by Make It Rain.
Yeah, there is the light screen up, and the Golden Go is +1.
That's the thing, is it's not that Grimmsnarl's at +1 or anything like that. It's that Grimmsnarl's getting hit by Make It Rain. Like, at the end of the day, if I have to accept one thing is true about VGC battles, it's going to be that Make It Rain is going to knock out Grimmsnarl.
Oh, yeah.
Now Rillaboom will come in. And that's the thing, is that if you had left Grimmsnarl out there, you could have gotten a couple more, another Nasty Plot up, or even two Nasty Plots up, and felt pretty happy with it. But now, you're at neutral, the other team has a light screen, and Rillaboom is out. And you've already burned your Terra. Not that it would have mattered that much for Golden Go or anything like that, but Rillaboom can kind of start hitting you a little bit. We're going to see the Terra here. It probably will be the Rillaboom. Yeah, Rillaboom, Terra, Fire.
Yeah, and the fact that this Rillaboom has the high horsepower as part of its kit is really important here because it can threaten the Golden Go, so... Normally Rillaboom wouldn't be able to if it was only like Grassy Glide, Woodhammer, etc., but here we see, yeah, that high horsepower is definitely going to help.
Ooh, and it's got the coaching as well. Which could at least mitigate a parting shot here, as I imagine that's what David wants to go for. Ooh, no, it was the Bullet Seed into the Incineroar. That could knock out the Incineroar.
Yeah,
that's
that was
a
really good read on Brian's part there. Reading that the Golden Go just protect, and then even if it didn't, you have the Terrifier there to save you from the Make It Rain.
Yeah, and then even if Incineroar had just hard switched out or anything, it might have switched out into the Palafin, which you would have absolutely dumped with that. That is a really, really nice play there.
Yeah, that was
by
great.
Brian. That might have put Brian back in this game. Like, it was looking pretty bad at first with how much the Golden Go was able to get done, but now it's looking pretty good. You do have a Fire-type Rillaboom now out in front of the other Palafin.
Yeah, that's a little scary. Because I imagine Palafin is probably faster, so the Jet Punch will go before the Grassy Glide.
I think... Oh, man. I think you're correct, but I also think Jet Punch might be like a... I don't know. I don't want to say that out loud, because I may be wrong. I think Jet Punch might have been +2 priority, but I think Palafin's faster anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, is Jet Punch going to knock out? Remember, it is +1 defense. Remember, Palafin can't Terra Water here. Does have the Mystic Water, does have a lot of boosts. But Rillaboom might be able to take a hit here, or it might switch out and save itself to fight another day. And if you went for a Jet Punch into that slot, you are going to be pretty unhappy with what you did now. Or you could fall asleep. Or you could get Dire Clawed to sleep.
Yep, that happens. I can say from personal experience. That happens.
Golden Go does... Excuse me. Golden Go does get another Nasty Plot up, which is pretty significant.
Yeah, because that'll pretty much mitigate the light screen at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it does directly mitigate the light screen. The question is, how much does Golden Go... One, does Golden Go take an Electro Shot? By what margin? And
yeah,
then...
depends on how David's Golden Go is trained. Mm-hmm. Some can take it, some can't, and even the ones that take it aren't usually feeling too good afterwards, so...
Yeah. And remember, it wasn't actually a Jet Punch into the Archaludon slot. I think it must have been either a Haze or a Wave Crash.
No, it just went to sleep. We didn't get to see what it was.
Yeah, but it would have moved before the Sneasler. Yeah, so it must have been one of the non-priority moves. We can see the Electro Shot here. I believe Golden Go protected, while the Palafin is not protected because it's still asleep. I think it tried to protect and it's still asleep. So if it went for an attack there, that's gonna be
a lot of damage.
A knockout onto the Palafin. And that gets the Palafin out of the way, so the Rillaboom has to be pretty comfortable in the rest of this battle here. Brian's in a pretty good spot to clean this one up.
Yeah, I'm wondering what you do here if you're David. But you're running out of ways out of this game.
Yeah, you gotta start hitting as hard as possible at this point. I mean, you do still have a +2 Golden Go.
Yeah.
And you do have turns to stall out whatever is remaining of the light screen.
And I would say too... Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, critically, that Archaludon doesn't have Assault Vest either, so a Shadow Ball into that slot would do a lot of damage.
It sure would, but everybody's going to click Protect instead, so...
Just in case.
You know, just in case.
But we did see it was... David was aiming a Shadow Ball into that slot.
Yeah.
And +2 Shadow Ball from Goldango is going to do a lot, and... Yeah, protects all around there, does stall another turn of light screen, so...
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, the Sneasler can paralyze or sleep another Sneasler with Dire Claw, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So... While Brian doesn't have a ton of great stuff to do with this Sneasler, because it can't touch Golden Go... It does have the ability to Dire Claw this Sneasler, break the Sash, and get the Paralysis.
It does get the Para, so we'll see if it gets the full Para or not.
Oh.
Icarine comes out first. Does finish off the Sneasler.
I think it did its job, though. That is absolutely all it needed to do there, I think.
Well, is the Perez Sneasler still slower than Archaludon?
I don't know. It probably will be. Yeah, it sure
like
is.
It will be, yeah. And that's enough to knock out the Sneasler.
Yeah, and I don't know if Sneasler would have been able to knock out the Archaludon. I mean, it would have gone for like a
I see what you're saying, because with that stamina boost from the Make It Rain, it changed the order of operations by getting the Para.
A little bit, and then even on top of that, it was just... It broke the Sash, which I think is all it needed to do to potentially win this game for Brian, but... Getting the Para absolutely finished this one off, as I don't know that the Golden Go is going to be able to find a way out of this. Goes for the Shadow Ball. This has to basically knock out the Rillaboom. And it gets pretty close, but it doesn't get there. And the high horsepower the other direction nearly gets the knockout. Flash Cannon, is it enough?
Yeah, should be enough.
Yep. It is, and Brian Perez is your League Challenge, Gym Challenge champion.
Super well played.
Really, really incredibly played. I mean, look, it doesn't look like there's a lot of skill in clicking Dire Claw sometimes, and sometimes there's not, but that was a clever little play there.
Yeah.
You saw a number of different outs in that situation, and it was one of the only things you really could have clicked, but you could have gone for like a coaching instead, and that wouldn't have been necessarily a great play, but it would have been a play that made a little bit more sense. But the Dire Claw was such a nice play because you knew it broke the Sash, and that's all you needed from it. And if it got one of the other effects, you win. You just win.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that was clutch. And I mean, he still had a potential game 3 there if things didn't work out. But,
absolutely.
But yeah, that covered it. That's all he really needed there.
Yeah. And with that, that'll be it for this week for Gym Challenge. I believe we are back here next week. I'm not back here next week, but we as a collective are back here next week.
Yeah, November 3rd, I think, is the next one. So.
And that'll be it. Have a great night, everybody.
Yep. See you later. Then just fade away.
Moving and moving. There's colors in the skyline.